Someone asked me to do a video explaining how to request a government issued headstone or to get a replacement government issued headstone. So, this is a guy right here, Henry Cleveland. I did a video on him a couple weeks ago. Served in the Civil War. While he was at camp, he got arrested under suspicion of committing murder. He was falsely accused, ended up getting acquitted by the governor of Michigan. And all of his life after the war, he tried to get a pension, but he wasn't able to get a pension because of that murder sentence. So I'm going to try to get him a headstone. I'm going to fill out all the paperwork, and hopefully they will send me one for him. I don't know if they will or not, but so first thing I do is I do all the research I can on that person. I try to figure out what unit they were in. A lot of times you can find that in a newspaper, or if you find an obituary or something like that, it will have that information in there. Then I go to the regimental record, which is what this is. This is a record of everyone that served in that regiment. Sometimes they miss some people, but it's pretty rare. And this usually gives a little snippet about where they came from, where they enlisted, what the date was that they enlisted, how long they served for, how long they enlisted for, things like that. And in some cases, if the person died before this record was made, which was usually in the late 1870s, early 1880s, it'll say where they died and were buried at. So that's useful information. If the person lived beyond 1890, this 1890 veteran census is another useful thing to print off and send with your request form to show that they were in fact a veteran and that they served in this unit between this date and this date. And usually we'll give a little more information down there along the bottom to corroborate the story a little more. The next thing you want is either an obituary or a death record showing what cemetery they were buried in. I sent a couple of these out 2 summers ago, and I got an email from the VA wanting to know where they were buried at, and if I could find an obituary to prove that that's where they were buried at, even though I had the sexton's signature on the request forms saying that the record was accurate. So I ended up finding the obituary. I snip and sketched it and emailed it to them, and they sent me the headstones within a couple of weeks. But having a death record, even a county death record that says where they were buried at, is useful to send with the packet. So after I've collected all of those things, I print off this form from the VA website. This is the VA 40-1330 form. And this is the request for new headstones or replacement headstone. There's also another form that's the 1330M form, which is a request for medallions that you can put on headstones that are already existing. They look like little triangular folded flags. They're actually pretty nice. So when you print off this form, this first box, that box number 1 up there, is going to ask what type of request this is. Is it an initial request, like has this person never had a headstone, or is it a replacement request? And you have to check one of those boxes. Now, typically when I'm doing a replacement, I will take a photo of the headstone that is currently there, because usually there's some criteria, and I'll show it to you here in a second, that you have to meet to be eligible for a replacement. So, but I'll go through and fill all this stuff out. For the Civil War guys, their stone was a simple stone. If they died before a certain time period, the stone was just a bas relief, had their name across the top, had their company, their regiment across the bottom. In some cases, it had what rank they were. Depends on when they died. This form will ask you for like their birth date, death date, things like that. I typically don't fill those in because if you do, there's a good chance you're going to get a stone that has birth date and death date carved into it, and I don't like that. Back in this time, a lot of those dates could very easily be wrong. So you could be putting wrong information on the stone. Secondly, I like them to be as authentic as they can be. I replaced, I got 5 new headstones for Civil War veterans for Edenville Township 2 summers ago. And I tried to get all of those just the way they would have been when they were issued back in the day. A couple of them ended up coming with birth date and death date on them. I must have filled in the boxes. I don't know why. But I did get those in granite so that they would last longer rather than marble, because marble's a very soft, fragile stone. So I wanted these to last for as long as they possibly could. So there's a couple things on this. If you go to the VA website and you are looking for whether or not you can get a headstone or get a replacement, there's a few things on this page that I find to be kind of invalid for Civil War veterans. First of all, these things up here are what you want to look for. Is it badly deteriorated, unreadable, stolen, vandalized, has an incorrect inscription? So even if, like, your grandpa served in World War II and they put that he was a sergeant and he was really only a private, you can get that replaced for free. Was it damaged during shipping? So that's one thing. When I got those 5 for Edenville shipped here, I opened them all up, looked at them before the truck even left to make sure that they didn't get damaged, because if they are damaged, you can refuse it, send it back. They'll make you a new one and send it to you. So, or maybe it doesn't meet certain contract specifications. So it's all of these monument makers for the VA. There's multiple of them. It's not just one. They have a contract that they have to follow. And if you get a stone that looks totally wrong, then you can send it back and say, I'm not taking this because it's not right. So it says some historic headstones and markers, or those that are more than 50 years old, may also be eligible for replacement. So even if it's in pretty good shape, but it's, banged up a little bit or something, you may be able to get a replacement for it. I don't like to replace historic markers. As most of you know, I will repair them as much as they can be repaired, but sometimes it just has to be done. So the thing I want to point out down at the bottom is it says marble and granite headstones or markers that are replaced and removed from a grave must be destroyed. You have to destroy them. So it has to be made so that the inscription is no longer legible, because they don't want people going out and putting these headstones out in another cemetery and having people think that this person is buried in this cemetery. The other thing that this says, and I might have cut it out. Oh, no, it's down at the very bottom. It says, be sure to have the veteran's social security number or service number and the date of the veteran's death. So that doesn't work for most Civil War veterans, because Social Security didn't come around until the 30s, 1932, 1934, I can't remember. So they did not have a Social Security number. A lot of times they didn't have a service number either. So having all these documents that I showed you in the beginning of this video is very helpful to prove that that veteran did in fact serve. The last thing you have to do is that form that I showed you, the 1330 form. You have to have it signed by a cemetery personnel. So the sexton, the township clerk, the city clerk, whoever is going to say, yes, this person is buried here. Yes, they don't have a marker. Yes, we want a marker. So that's the most important thing. You send it in without that, you're not getting a marker. Hopefully this video helped somebody that needs to get a marker. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, whether it's through message, email. I'll put my email right here in the video. Reach out. I'll help you any way I can.